loop on top. See how this is? On top of the post. So they lay. So let me have, you mean like, see like that? Because if you put them the other way, then you got to get underneath it with a nut in the washer.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to touch
Okay,
them.
here it is. Right here. Yeah. Probably should have left these off till last. No, power's off. I don't have to worry about it right now. Okay. That one's up. This one's up. That one's already tight. Okay, so now, before we get carried away, we can put this side whole back on and then water these. I'd be better off. That would clean all these so that I can put my hand on there without the wires in the way, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's go like this.
So what we're doing is, first of the month, we are
It's called an EQ test.
checking the batteries for our solar system for our power source. We do it first of the month every month.
It's called an EQ test. This. So the distilled water has to go into each port, chamber of the battery, bringing the distilled water level up to the proper height to the battery, top of the battery, so that the solar can in turn keep the plates in the battery charged. So not only do we have to add water, but we got to clean terminals and clean the ports to each one of these little caps that have jets, so that the gases that are in the battery can come out of those. Air has to go through. Oh, there. So just a second. You can see here that this whole side of the battery pack is positive. This whole side of the terminals are negative. So we're assigned in sequence of order here, in a loop system. So we're going to put all the rest of the cables to tie in series. And ultimately, these whole battery terminals will be put forth with the cable systems and the terminals tightened up. And then we'll be back ready for use here momentarily. Probably within 20-30 minutes, we should be there. Keep you posted. So here we are again, back on the battery pack, trying to clean up the terminals and put the distilled water in. So as you can see, we have 8 batteries with 3 different ports for each battery that require the distilled water to be brought up to the proper level. So as the terminals are being cleaned, all of the corrosion from the terminals I'm referring to, because this stuff sweats because of ventilation and such. And so we're getting ready to now put distilled water in each one of these cells. So we're going to bring it up to the proper height. So we're about halfway up, if you can see in there, halfway up on the wall of the cell. This one's low, so we could add to this one as well. That one's probably about half. This one's definitely low. We'll add to this one. I believe because due to the fact that we haven't had much sun, that month, apparently I got too much in there, so I got to wipe it up. But because we haven't had a whole lot of solar this month, we haven't had a whole lot of sun, the batteries haven't worked necessarily as hard as they normally do, so we haven't used as much water. So now that the distilled water is properly filled in all 3 cells to the right height, now we've got to put the caps back on. So these are the air ports where they breathe. So you put them in at 3 o'clock, turn them down to 6 o'clock so that we can see them all lined up. These haven't been done, these have been done. So now we're ready to move on. The water level in these 6 batteries, all the 4 on the left and these 2 in the front, they're all done. So we're gonna continue with these 2 batteries, take all 6 of these cells, bring them to the proper height with distilled water, clean up the terminals, and then put the series of cables back in, negative and positive, all in order. And after all the battery terminals are completely hooked up, we'll turn the power back on. Note for the avid off-grid person that's unsure or uncertain, always try to remember this. Turn the power off before you even start this application. Work safe. God bless. Okay, so hold on for a second. We're calling this positive, right?
Okay, that's
So let's we're putting red on the terminal that goes onto the positive, so we don't have to, because the cables are already bent to the post for the series, we know which end has to go on what side, even though either side would work. But they're bent for that specific. So as you can see, we got positive here on this studs, positive on this side. So I'm going to go into series now again.
What are you touching?
It's not, it's the acid into my cuts on my hands.
Oh, yikes.
Okay. All taped up, ready to go? Ah, come on.
Are you getting sparked or is
Yeah, let me have the nut in the washer, please.
As you can see, it's in a tight spot, but hopefully by next year we'll have everything out on a shelf where he won't have to do that. But seeing as we're in a small cabin, we had to really use our space wisely. So
Yes, that's what it is.
this is in the
Okay.
in our bathroom actually, and so it's a tight corner.
Okay, now we gotta have the shortest terminal we got.
Yeah, got it.
All right. Oh. Okay. So now, yeah, like that, and then, yeah, just like that, Elizabeth, you got it. Okay, so this is gonna go like this. Okay. Okay, now let me have a nut and bolt. Thank you.
Okay, so
I want to tape up the positive side now.
are missing.
Yeah, we'll get one. We'll do that last. What we want to do is take one side and tape it red for positive. So let's see how it's going to be bent. So, well, we're going to find out. So if we go like, yeah, that look makes right like that, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this is be positive. So what we probably ought to do before we hook up the last one is take one of those bolts. I'll use it as a reference template.
Either one of these have a second bolt and second washer.
Is there, yeah, but there's on the head, there's no. Yeah, okay, so the one that's got the big heads on it, we'll take the washer and put it on the other side. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So let's take this and put it on this side right here like this, right? So we'll go like this. Okay, let me have the nut. Okay. Okay, so now bolt, yep. All right, now washer and nut. Okay, how many bolts we got left? 2 or 3?
We have one bolt, but we need a bolt and a whole new system.
Yeah, I mean,
One more wire. We
okay.
have a bolt set.
Okay, but I mean, how many, that's the only bolt we got left?
Yeah.
So we need 3 more, right? Oh, what do you say? We need,
Just these.
yeah, 3 more. Plus, where's your other wire?
I just have this one. Oh, it's on here.
Okay, so there's 2 in this one. Okay, so we're still gonna need 2 more bolts, right?
Right. One
Wait a second, let me think about this here. Yeah, 1 more.
more. We can't get this.
Okay, so let's go like this. We'll take this one with us. And I'll hook that one up. I'll go down to the tool shed while I'll find something. We got something to make, I'll get something that'll work. While you guys hook these up, all right? So now that we have the wires marked out with a positive and the negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, they're all in series. And we're getting ready to tighten up each terminal. So what I've done is run the nuts on the right-hand side because I'm right-handed. It makes it easier to tighten. So we're going to take and there's the fan for the inverter right now because of the temperature. It's cooling off because of the use. So we're just snugging these up right now. We don't over tighten them. As long as they're tight and there's good continuity between this and the post, we should be good. Can't get in there on that side of that one, so I'll have to do it like this. Opt to use a wrench, but this side we can get. But because I'm limited in space with it, so they're snug. That's all you need. You don't need to over tighten them. We just want good continuity. Here I can get in with this one. This one needs to be tightened up. Is this the one that we fixed?
The wire?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I do too. So. These I did already, right?
I believe so when you put them on.
Yeah. I think they're all. I think we have them now tightened up. So now we're gonna go like this. First things first, we're gonna turn the main power back on to the panel. And then we're gonna come over to here. You can hear the generator just engage. We're at 52, 51.6. It just illuminated, so it's charging the batteries back on because we have the inverter that's lit up right now. The solar's not, you can see the sun's full power is blackened in, and the batteries now we haven't had the generator. If the generator was on, then the battery would show that it's charging. And because the event's not lit up in red, that tells us there's nothing to troubleshoot because there's no issues with our power at this point. I'm going to turn the sub panel back on, all the breakers back on, so that we can use the lights if we need them, but we don't need them, but just to make sure that this event doesn't light up red. So here's our sub panel. I've got the cover removed at this point so I can have access to it. So these are all going to be put on. Single pole. You can hear the light just went on inside where we were. I had it shut off. And now we know that everything's back on. You can see the light just came on in the closet, so that tells us that
We wipe that water out.
yeah, we can wipe the rest of this down. Here you go. Let me get it. It probably. Okay. So at this point, with the terminals clean and the cells all topped off with distilled water, it's going to be okay now to cover it back up with our foam insulation as a protection. So this is not for the power coming up into it, which this conduit is scheduled 40 years. So that protects that, and then we in turn use that as shelf. That's where some of our stuff goes. So power's back on, solar's back on, generator, inverter, the fan is now engaged. We can shut that down. And of course I'll pick up my tools here momentarily. But it looks like all of this, the breakers are on. There's nothing here that tells us in our events. You can look, everything's active. If we had any issues, our 8 batteries were on 1 now. It would say fault here in the detail, but we don't have that. So there's nothing here. Our AC input generator is not on, so the input state is dropped, is not in use. And if it was, then we would see, 125 volts, 60 hertz. So those are no longer. So we'll go back to this. We can see now, because of the solar's working, here's your batteries right here, and it shows in this black grid how much power we have. So we got 0.4 kilowatts now set up, and our battery source is at 51.2 volts. We are in what they call a float zone. So our float zone is 100%, 0%. Here's 50%. We're like 60%. So our charging doesn't go up over 60, but it doesn't come down below, I believe it's 48. So we're staying in that float zone between, 48 or 46 to 60. So your battery level is here at 50%, so we don't overcharge up to 100, and we don't deplete its source down to 0. So they're always maintaining somewhere between 40 and 60%, which increases the longevity and lifespan of your battery. We're at 51.2 right now. Everything's working good. The inverter's on. Everything's green. That means we got full power. You can see the sun is in its fullness right now. So you can't get any more out of the sun right now than what we're getting in order to bring solar into the batteries, which goes through our Outback system here, the generator inverter, which then changes it into electricity, in which we draw from our sub panel. Off-grid living, feasibly acceptable. Probably not the way everybody likes to live or wants to live, because there's a lot of maintenance in it. But at this point, this is what God's blessed us with. So hope you learned something. Work safe. God bless.